Hey family, if you like my video, don't forget to like, share and drop a comment. Your support means everything. Make sure to subscribe and follow so you never miss new updates, and hit that notification bell right down there to stay connected, okay? Let's grow this community together. Your one click makes a difference. Don't forget, make sure you hit share, drop a comment, follow and subscribe. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching. Today we are going to be talking about the the issue that has led Southern Cameroon to conflict this conflict in Southern Cameroon that for the past 9 years has drawn strong parallel to that of South Africa's apartheid system, where due to its pattern of exploitation by the Cameroon regime, the marginalization and the systematic oppression that the people of Southern Cameroon have faced for the past 60 years. The local resources such as oil, timber, cocoa, and banana generate billions, yet the people of Southern Cameroon remain impoverished and excluded from the economic benefit. Military occupation that has turned the cities like Mboya, you see Bamenda, into a control zone. Okay, while protests by teachers, lawyers, the unions demanding that basic change were met with violence and internet shutdown. The Sonara oil refinery in Victoria exemplifies neo-colonial corporate control, where revenues enrich elites and foreign interests, while locals suffer neglect. Even in humanitarian crisis, corruption thrives as officials embezzle these relief funds after villages were burned and communities displaced. After 9 years, we still see embezzlement. The government of Cameroon, the government of Paul Biya, keep embezzling money, siphoning money to their respective families. Activists and scholars argue that this crisis mirrors apartheid on multiple levels. Southern Cameroonians face systematic discrimination in governance, judiciary, and education, and are denied their UN-recognized right to self-determination. Much like black South Africans under white rule, heavy militarization enforces curfews. They call it Kale Kale, lockdowns and violent crackdowns, while calls for independence are criminalized as terrorism. Despite producing significant wealth, the Southern Cameroon region remains underdeveloped, reinforcing the apartheid-like divide where the ruling elite benefit from exploitation. Together, these realities show why many describe Cameroon's control over Southern Cameroon as a modern form of apartheid, marked by repression, inequality, and the denial of fundamental rights. We have seen this happen along the years, and the people of Southern Cameroon are saying enough is enough. Today, I am going to give a comprehensive analysis about what is happening in Southern Cameroon, the historical context of the colonial oppression. Okay, Southern Cameroon, Ambazonia, was never legally united with the French Cameroon in the first place, okay, through any act of union, treaty, or legally binding agreement. So in 1961, under the United Nations-led Southern Cameroon to join the French Cameroon in a federal arrangement, and a union that was later unilaterally dissolved by La République in 1972 by Ahidjo. The abolition of the federal system marked the beginning of a systematic annexation. That was we all know that, right? That disregarded the autonomy, the cultural identity, and the political will of the Ambazonian people. That was the start of the annexation, the start of the apartheidization, the start of the neo-colonization of Southern Cameroon and Ambazonia. Since then, the Southern Cameroonians have suffered, okay, have suffered in many phases: forced assimilation policies, language discrimination, political exclusion, cultural erasure, violent repression by the military gendarmes, and ultimately military occupation and genocide, as you have seen in the past 9 years of the war declared by Paul Biya on the people of southern Cameroon. The systematic and economic destruction and marginalization continued along the years. For the past 60 years, the people of southern Cameroon have seen that destruction of their infrastructure, okay? The destruction of the southern Cameroon's economy. That was a backbone, was neither incidental nor accidental. It was deliberate, okay, systematic and strategic by the Biya regime. The Biya government made it clear that they wanted to use this deliberate, systematic, and strategic assimilation policy to bring down the people of southern Cameroon to succumb to their meals and caprices. The economic genocide that we all know, okay, was a review of the 20 defunct or marginalized industries. Shows how La Republique pursued deliberate underinvestment. You remember companies that we brought in. The La Republique government deliberately meant to underdevelop all these countries, all these companies, industries. There was a decentralization of the profit, asset transfer to francophone elites, neglect of infrastructure and rural development, suppression of local entrepreneurship. If you see CDC today, you see Sonara, you see all these companies. A company like Sonara, you find the headquarters is in Yaoundé. Sonara headquarters, Yaoundé. Companies are in southern Cameroon. Many of these industries that were there before, WADA, today, Sonara, CDC, they have been abandoned. Sonara have been abandoned. Manfi Rice Kiln, Limbe Deep Sea Port, the Menchum Hydro Project could have ensured southern Cameroon's self-sufficiency and even economic dominance in Central Africa. Instead, they were crippled, privatized, or abandoned, and their profit rechanneled to French-controlled Yaoundé and Douala. This is what was systematic, okay? And what was the consequence? The people of southern Cameroon are facing rising unemployment, rural and urban poverty, mass economic migration, collapse of cooperatives, widespread hopelessness. Whereas if a country like southern Cameroon, with 60% of everything that's economic resources, revenue coming from that area is 60%. But yet, the people of southern Cameroon face rising unemployment, rural and urban poverty, mass economic migration, the collapse of all these industries that we brought in, and a widespread of hopelessness. You see today, majority of what they call bushfallers, diasporans, majority of southern Cameroonians traveled long ago because they had no hope. In a country where there is rising unemployment, a country where you have poverty in the rural and urban areas, a country where there is that mass economic migration, how do you survive in this kind of economy? And that is it. Then political disempowerment and cultural repression continued. Our people face that as we speak. Back then, the Aïdjo government intentionally dismantled the position of a vice president that we knew was supposed to be rotative. The power sharing system, the federal system, the dismantling of the West Cameroon government after 1972 fake referendum eliminated all Southern Cameroonian political institutions. This was followed by imposition of the French civil law in all southern Cameroon regions. This dissolution of the English-based educational system, where we were having back then, our GC was being organized in UK. Our exams back then, Standard 6, Standard 7, all those British style educational system, the Anglo-Saxon system, was being dissolution of this English-based educational system, the replacement of the Anglophone Ambazonian administrators, the militarization of governance, election riddled with fraud and disenfranchisement, the denial of the Ambazonian right to self-determination. All this violates international legal norms, especially UN Resolution 1514 on decolonization. What we are saying here is the systematic eradication, dismantling of the system of the people of Southern Cameroon. And this is what was a major problem that the people of Southern Cameroon faced just for coming in this union with La République du Cameroon. That was a systematic eradication. And after 9 years of this war, nothing has changed. What has happened? Genocide. The 9 years of this war and the deafening silence of the world. Since 2016, the people of Ambazonian has been subjected to targeted killings. Burning of villages. More than 500 villages have been burned. Mass displacement. Over 1 million Southern Cameroonian Ambazonian have been displaced. Mass graves, extrajudicial executions, rape and gender-based violence is what our people have suffered. School closures, kidnapping of our children. Despite this widespread documentation by Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, and the UN report, the international community has remained largely complicit through its silence, driven by geopolitical interests and neo-colonial alliance with France and La République du Cameroon. The Galiba class, internal betrayer, perhaps more dangerous than external oppression, are internal saboteurs. We have those people who say, oh, okay, federal system can work out. Let's go back to the federal system. But that is what we will face, because they think that the federal system can work again. The first federal system did not work out, right? Some home and diaspora allies seek government appointments from La République du Cameroon, undermining the revolution from within. They want appointments. They want to be appointed. Others profit from NGO projects promoting peace framework that reinforce the status quo of occupation. The people that call themselves the federalists, the people that call themselves the elite, some funds and some chiefs, some men of God, this is what they are doing. They want appointments, they want promotion, they're using NGOs. This NGOs project, okay. A segment of the local elites and chiefs has traded integrity for bribes and patronage, suppressing local dissent. They use their position as chiefs. You saw them going to Yaoundé to go and beg for bribes and crumbs. They form the Goliba class, those who will rather eat the crumbs of tyranny than stand for the feast of freedom. They will eat the crumbs of tyranny than stand for the crumbs of freedom. They are not neutral. They are collaborators. Okay? This is what we are talking about. Most Southern Cameroonians believe that the federal system will not and has not worked. To truly free Ambazonia, the revolution must strategically evolve. Our people have suffered for 9 years. They have seen it all. The current stalemate cannot continue. Okay? The revolutionary unity and purge of saboteur is very important. the people of Southern Cameroon have called for unity. The people of the African supporters have called for unity to convene a unified revolutionary assembly involving frontline leaders, independent civil society actors, and credible commanders. Establish a revolutionary ethics committee to expose and neutralize internal saboteurs and collaborators. Enforce non-negotiable zero tolerance for some saboteur traitors. The strategic diplomacy that we're talking about is what the groups and governments should embark on. This government of Ambazonia, the Ambazonian government and the other groups should target African regional blocs like ECOWAS, SADC, EAC to raise the Southern Cameroon question, launch a diaspora foreign relationship front with Ambazonian trained in international law and diplomacy, file legal action in the international court under genocide, apartheid, and colonial occupation. International media and narrative should focus on that to create a 24/7 digital media network showcasing La Republique's atrocities, like what we are doing already, to amplify the victim testimonies and connect with independent journalists, not just mainstream platforms. The grassroots mobilization should continue, like we have been doing, to rebuild our local economic using cooperatives. These are all what we have been doing that we have to continue to do, okay? To have the reorganize and train strategies for the command forces, who are the liberation freedom fighters. Spiritual, psychological, and cultural revival. Okay, that is what we are looking at. We will never forget how La République du Cameroun have destroyed the country, destroyed Ambazonia, because after 9 years, the people of Southern Cameroon are comparing their struggle to that of apartheid in South Africa, especially in terms of resource exploitation, marginalization, and systematic oppression. Okay, what we brought in, the timber, the cocoa, the banana, all this coming from Southern Cameroon is largely controlled by French-backed companies. Allied close to Yaoundé continue to export billions, while local farmers and workers remain impoverished. Roads in production zone are left underdeveloped. You have seen roads in Bongé Road, roads in Kumbo, roads in all these other areas in Southern Cameroon. This is just mirroring apartheid era South Africa, where black communities generated wealth for the state and white elites, but remain excluded from economic gains. The military occupation continued, okay, and the annexation practices. You've seen majority of Southern Cameroon is occupied. Since the escalation of this war in Amazonia, you have seen the escalation, you have seen the military has treated towns like Boya, Kumba, and Bamenda as occupied territories. Civilian neighborhood have been subjected to collective punishment, arbitrary arrests, and curfews, where they call it Kale Kale, similar to the South Africa's apartheid era, Bantustan, that Bantustan policy where force was used to crush dissent and maintain control during the apartheid regime. Okay, the educational and linguistic marginalization continues to today. We don't know why. English language, that is the world language. The Cameroon government don't want our people to exercise their freedom of linguistic freedom and educational freedom. They arrest the teachers and lawyers and during the strike to quell down the protest movement. Okay, but that is why today we still see the same marginalization in our courts, in our schools, continuing, where there's the imposition of French-speaking judges and educators in English-based institutions in southern Cameroon. Their demands for this was met with either the internet shutdown and so on and so forth during the start of the crisis. But today, this recalls the Apartheid's Bantu Education Act, which deliberately suppressed black South Africans' access to quality education to keep them marginalized. Okay, the new colonial corporate control of Sonara and other industries, despite billions generated yearly from crude oil processing, the people of southern Cameroon remain underdeveloped. Revenues flow direct to Yaoundé. Okay, these parallel the apartheid area, South Africa, where mining world enriched the state and foreign investor, while black laborers stayed poor. Okay, and we are seeing this happening today, right? Where corruption and mismanagement of our resources, they will do all this, the burning of our villages by government, by Cameroon military, in Muyuka, in Kwakwa, and Pinyin, okay, where civilians were forced to go to the bush and live in the bushes. This is what the people of southern Cameroon face today. Okay, that is why we are trying to compare the systematic discrimination that happened in the era of South Africa, the denial of self-determination, the militarization of the people of southern Cameroon, and repression, the unequal access to resources that our people face today, the criminalization of identity and resistance that our people face today. Because in South Africa, the apartheid regime criminalized the African National Congress, just like they are criminalizing the Ambazonia movement and freedom fighters. Okay? Similarly, in Cameroon, the Cameroon labels Ambazonia activists and independent movement as terrorists, imprisoning and executing leaders while suppressing southern Cameroonian identity and calls for justice. Very, very similar, right? That looks familiar. Where southern Cameroonians generate significant revenue through our oil, agriculture, and natural resources, but we don't even see even what is coming back to us. Everything is siphoned to Yaoundé. Okay, that is what we are talking about. In apartheid South Africa, it was the same thing, where it had the economic exploitation of the black South Africans that produced the wealth that primarily benefited the white minority government. Okay, the government of Cameroon is using their heavy militarization process, like they did in the days of apartheid, where they use the police and the military to brutalize and suppress resistance movements in townships. You saw videos how they were torturing our people. Until today, it still happens. The same thing happens today. But that is the story of the people of southern Cameroon. I'll play this video and you listen to one of these, our brother who has really discussed this, and we'll come back to that.
The war going on in the Anglophone regions of Cameroon must end. This war must end because only the truth will make this war end. And the people who are entertaining lies will be put to light. For those who don't know and keep on blaming the so-called Amber Boys that they took arms, I think people normally forget how Amber Boys came to take arms, even though they will say nothing can push you to take arms against a government. But Anglophones in Cameroon, you don't know, even though they are not the only people suffering, but they have been suffering. Their problem, their main problem, the main Anglophone problem started in the 1970s when oil was discovered in southwest of Cameroon. We all know that France, anything that is wealth in Cameroon belongs to France. So when the oil was discovered in the 70s, 1970s, around, being in the Anglophone regions, France and the then President Amadou Ahidjo now plot a coup to remove Anglophones from the equation of oil. That is why a referendum was organized in 1972 to unite the two Cameroon. While uniting the two Cameroon, they remove all the agreement of the Federal Republic of Cameroon. Anglophones became inexistent. That is why from that time the Anglophones were in Cameroon like foreigners. Nothing. For instance, can you tell me what oil discovered in the 70s has done to Anglophone region? The Sonara, that is the oil manufacturer company that is in Limbe, does not belong to Anglophones, even though it is in their soil. This is the main problem that brought the war in the Anglophone regions today. The oil that was discovered.
Yeah, that was our brother from Africa. You know, Ambazonian struggle is no longer a struggle of Ambazonian. It's a struggle of the liberation of Africa. Black on black colonization is still very prevalent in African countries today, because our own brothers take advantage of their own brothers. And we have seen this happening in all African countries where they take advantage and connive with strangers to suppress their brothers, to oppress their brothers. This is what is happening in many countries. And now we see the prevalence of a black on black colonization or neo-colonization, or the failure of the decolonization processes that we see it happening today. Okay, I'll allow Professor Lumumba to comment about something that we have to think about too, because it's similar to what. Okay, take a listen to Professor Lumumba.
The reality is the poverty of Africa is the glory of some civilizations. Poverty is an industry. Ignorance is an industry, big industry. And there are those who want Africa to continue to wallow in poverty and to wallow in ignorance because it is their safest bet to their continued benefit. The day we wake up to that reality, the safer we are. That is why the English had this beautiful saying, let sleeping dogs lie. So we are sleeping, and we are being allowed to lie. And we are being hypnotized into even greater sleep and slumber, to dream even further. But I'm telling us, if Africa is to realize our dream, we must wake up. If Africa is to win the lottery, we must buy.
Yeah, you heard Professor Limumba. Most African leaders, most African government prefer their citizens to remain in ignorance because they use that ignorance to suppress, to oppress, to marginalize them. The example of Professor Lumumba is go across Africa, okay, but specifically Cameroon and Southern Cameroon today. Two countries came together to have a federal system that each country will survive the system through managing their own resources and live as brother and But what happened because of long neck, because of maybe it's greed? One of the countries brought their military and occupied the other one. So that is what is happening in Southern Cameroon, because we had the same status like La Republique du Cameroon. When we had our independence, it was the same status that we had as a mandated territory of the United Nations. So it had nothing to do with La Republique was known. They gave us the option to choose to live with Cameroon or live with Nigeria. So it was our choice according to what our parents saw. They said Cameroon might be a fry pan because Nigeria was a fire back then, when our parents had 40 years living with Nigeria. So this is not something that you cannot ask people to have independence by joining either one country or the other. Why was that? Why was there only two options? That is the bone of contention. Today we see that coming back to Rose, right? Because of the ill-fated system. Africans across the continent are now waking up to learn about the Ambazonian and the Cameroon War, as they are standing in support of Ambazonians' decolonization from Western powers, which are using Cameroon as a proxy. We have seen those commentaries, right? The commentaries of Lumumba and the other African activists reflect strong frustration and resentment from Southern Cameroonians who believe the union with the French Cameroon has brought little benefit, okay, apart from forced assimilation into the French language and culture. Many argue that Ambazonians have been colonized through systematic marginalization and that the relationship between the two sides has failed. Voices in the discussion emphasize that the root problem is not Ambazonia itself, but the government of La Republique du Cameroon, which they accuse of oppression, exploitation, and blocking the right to self-determination for the people of Southern Cameroon and Ambazonia. At the same time, the responses show deep determination and unity among pro-independence supporters. PLO Lumumba, Professor Masanga, all these guys are pro-independence supporters. Several other commentators have commented about the Ambazonian struggle. They declare a pride in being Ambazonian, calling for international support, even from Russia, and insisting on independence or nothing. Faith and resilience also run through the discussion, and with the appeal of God's justice, encouragement to spread awareness, and promise not to surrender until freedom is achieved. While some express doubt about realism, the overwhelming tone is one of defiance, hope, and the belief that the struggle for Southern Cameroon liberation is both legitimate and unstoppable. We are seeing this happening across Africa, where there is a legitimate and overwhelming tone of defiance, hope, and a belief that freedom will come one day for the people of Southern Cameroon and the entire Africa. Take a listen to our sister who brought some masterpiece.
You call us the youths of tomorrow because you know tomorrow is not guaranteed. You make us give away our resources, pay taxes, but at the end of the day we can barely fit. You draw your scale of preference, but our names never fit the list. Why? Because who cares about the poor? Who cares about our needs? You take away our freedom of speech, shut us out, and tell the world we are amateurs, we are not fit to lead. Armed robbers in Agbada, moving around with pot bellies swollen with greed. You can fool some people sometimes, but you can't fool all the people all the times. We know go gree. On these streets, we the youths live the harsh reality. Little children having to hawk just to feed the family. Why? Because mommy and daddy no longer have the capability. Youths now dropping out of school because education is no longer the key. It's just a formality. So many youths going astray. Young girls becoming prostitutes. After acquiring all this knowledge, we still remain destitute. All these certificates are just an added name or title. Why? Because they can't even get us into our desired institute. On these streets, we draw wheat from wheat while I don't clear. We see no transparency. Why won't you give us what is ours? All we want to do is take care of our families. How do you plant hate in our hearts and expect us not to see you as the enemy? If only you knew that life as an educated but jobless youth is a tragedy.
So I'm gonna end with this statement. When you are mentally defeated, it gives you a false exaggeration of the strength of your opponent or oppressor, thus rendering you numb and unwilling to fight back and walk away to freedom. So this is for you, the people of Southern Cameroon. Let's keep the fire burning. There is no other freedom than freedom to free your homeland. And that is what we are doing. Keep the fight burning, keep the fire burning until we reach Buea. Thank you. Hey, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please take a moment to like, share, and comment. If you really, it really helps for you to spread the message, spread the word, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button down there and follow button. So never you miss out on any fresh content that I share. Hit that notification bell so that you get all the update and be part of this amazing community. Your support makes all the difference. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more wonderful content as you watch Fritz Smith Soli. Thank you.